we are getting pretty close. Like I said, I've gone ahead, gotten the turbo and exhaust bolted back up with the exception of one bolt on the cat. I've got to have my lovely assistant come and help me with that sometime, but I do have the timing belt put back on. Let me show you that real quick. Pretty easy to do. There's a couple of marks to be aware of, and then it's just lining some things up. So let me show you what I can. The camera won't fit in there too well, but I can try and describe it for you. So as we were putting together our new head, we have our cam gear on here, and you can see on the trim mark there is a 0 timing, and I also made a mark with a Sharpie on this gear, and there is also a little arrow there as well. So when we had this set, we knew the cams and the head was in the proper timing position. And then down here, way down here, I'll drop in a picture from my phone. There's a dot that will give you the approximate top dead center. And you can also do something like throw a screwdriver or a peg or something in cylinder number 1 to also test and see when it's at its top. And then you roll back just a hair. And that's going to be top dead center. Again, you can see the marks down here. Then that'll allow you to go ahead and put your belt back on, your pulleys, tensioners, get everything tightened up like it should be. And then that's going to take care of this. So let's grab a wrench and see if we can turn this engine over now. If you remember before, we got to a certain point and it just stopped. Rolls over nice and smooth. Yep, everything seems like it's as it should be. So I'm going to go through and finish putting on the serpentine belt. I've got the tensioner to put back on for that. I've got the front cover plates for the timing, plumbing up front, valve cover, a new valve cover gasket to go in there, put the plugs back in. I can do that now. Coils, all that fun stuff on top. So let's just get that done, blow it out of the way. We can put some oil back in here, put some coolant in here. Hopefully I've gotten all my lines. I'm running out of things to hook up, so that's a positive thing, I guess. Hook up some lines and then turn over the starter and build some oil pressure, get stuff moving around in there because we drained everything out, brand new head. And even though I've put a bunch of assembly lube on this thing, I want to go ahead and get oil pressure built and oil covering all of our new goodies before I actually start the engine, running it over at 700 RPMs. So let's just get working on that. Now, I do have a new valve cover gasket. This old one should pretty much pry out, hopefully. And the new one goes in. I think all this hardware has to come out. Yep. So all this hardware for the bolts or screws for the valve cover have to come out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Then we've got, careful of all of these. Ooh, yeah, you're kind of dry and cracked. Yep, yeah, we'll just take this one off. Let me get this out, put the new one in, and we'll keep moving along.
The next morning.
It is almost that time. Last night I got the rest of the stuff buttoned up on top here. Airbox. Still got that last bolt on the turbo to exhaust to put on, but that's minor. Everything else here looks to be pretty good. Last thing to really do before we put the nose back on this car is put our crank pulley on. And when I took it off, I did make a mark on here of where TDC should be with a Sharpie. If you can see it there, maybe. There we go, a little bit of a black mark. And also there is a reference little notch hole down here because there's a stud on the crank bolt that, or on the crank gear that lines up. So if everything went as planned, if I put this on, that stud should align with this hole and we can put our bolts in. If it's within reason, that's okay. If it's way off, that's bad, because then I've got to take the timing cover back off, retime the engine, probably a tooth or two the one direction or the other. But I'm going to hope that it's in the right spot. I'll throw a picture in here since I can't put the camera down there of what that looks like. So let's just see how things line up for me. Oh, I gotta grab my other camera. Where is it? Here. Grab my great little borescope cam. And the biggest thing is make sure this thing is faced up. It'd be really good if these cameras would say, you know, a straight line, here's up. Because it's kind of a challenge to see. But it looks like I'm off a little bit, so I got to figure out where that mark is and not drop my hardware. Probably could have test fit this pulley before I put all the timing stuff back on, but you know, I'm not always the brightest bulb on the tree. Let's see, there's my mark, and I'm clearly off a tooth or two, I think. Yep. My mark on my pulley is here. Marker I want to be is over here. So, unfortunately for me, I need to undo a few things, which is not really what I wanted to do, but here we are. I'm thinking when I rolled the engine, I rolled it the wrong direction from top dead center. So I know our cams and our head are in top dead center. So I've just got to roll the engine around a little bit to get that where it needs to be. So I'm going to do that since you can't see any of this anyways, and return. Okay, now that that's done, the problem was when I put the timing belt on and adjusted the tensioner, it rolled the crank forward just a little bit. And that was causing it to be off from the cam on the head. So I ended up taking things apart and rolled the crank back about that same amount. And then once I tightened the tensioner back up, everything is within a half of a tooth up here. So we're dead on down there with my mark and the peg on the crank. And like I said, we're within a half a tooth up here. I'm going to call that good. I didn't take marks off the old timing belt because I really thought that was our problem. Anyways, that is done. We have our new gates, serpentine belt to put on. Somewhere I have a drawing of the routing, so let me find that. All right, I think this is my drawing. Get it on. Looks right. Kind of feels good. Hoping this thing is almost back together. And hopefully it'll run. The timing belt does need to seat itself in here a little bit. When I tried to crank it by hand, it was rubbing on the timing cover a little bit. So if we have to fiddle with that, we will, but overall, it's where it should be. This is where it should be. Go ahead, pull out my pin, and then this should get us our tension on our serpentine belt. Here we go, pull you out. Everything is back where you should be. Again, you guys can't really see. I'm sure you've seen belts done before. With that, I feel pretty confident that I can put this front end back into the first service mode versus fully removed. Like I said, I didn't tip the whole thing forward. Didn't want to deal with transmission cooler lines and everything else, oil lines. So the next thing I'm going to do, lift this thing back up where it goes. Thank you, Summit Racing. Not sponsored, it's just been sitting here. Remove from painted surfaces daily. Oops. Anyways, get the bumper back on the horn down here, lift it up. And you're back a lot closer to where you should be. My only concern is when I took things apart, the restraint for the hood, end of it broke off. So my goal is to put it back on, and then hopefully, I can't really service just this piece without replacing the whole cable. For now, just to get this back on and hopefully glue it in place, and I can come back and fix it at a later date. Because if this falls off, we're all going to have a bad day. But I'll do that last. So I'm going to go ahead, button the front of this thing back up so we can go ahead and get some coolant and oil in here and hopefully turn the key over. Everything up front is buttoned up. We've got an oil change to do or an oil fill to do. Just replace the filter that was in it. I got an OE man filter. That's what I use in all of my BMWs around here. So same thing with the Audi. And just because we don't know the history, and there was some evidence of sludge and probably neglected oil changes, I'm going to go ahead and throw a can of the BG EPR stuff, the engine performance restoration goo, in the crankcase. Refill it with oil. I did get a second oil filter so I can let this run and then drain it and put in some fresh fuel. We've got some Castrol, I think 5W20 for the Outback over there. This should take, I think, 540 or 0, something like that. But it's not the perfect oil for it, but if it's just going to get changed out anyways, I'm not terribly worried. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this up with our BG, and then behind me, somewhere, aha. The front end service kit came with a gallon of antifreeze from Xerox. So we're gonna go ahead and throw that in here, see if that fills it up, and hopefully it will, probably not, but that's what they sent me, so that's what I'm gonna use, and burp the coolant system, assuming this thing starts. I'm making a lot of assumptions. So anyways, let me fill the coolant up, Bluetooth funnel style. Put some oil in here, and then I want to find the fuse for the fuel pump. Now this is concentrate, so I'm going to go ahead and grab some water to throw in here as well. Let's focus on our oil, because that is the important part. Yum. Let me go find some oil. 5W40 is what it wants, but it's gonna get a little drink of 020 for right now. I'm not gonna spend money on oil just to throw it away. Well, I guess I am, but I've already paid for this. And it's on Amazon Auto Ship. 4.8 quarts with a filter change. It also gives me a good opportunity to make sure I've reconnected all of my lines down on the lower part of the engine. I think I have. I'm running out of parts. We're right at the fill mark, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Again, the oil's not staying here long. So I'm gonna do two things. A, figure out where the fuel pump relay is or fuse and remove that. And B, I've got to put a charge on this battery. It's been sitting here for a month now and it was bad when I brought it in and it's not gotten any better in the last month. So let me pause you for now and go ahead, get the fuel situation figured out and the battery ready to go. Well, we've had the battery charging for a little while. Let's just see what happens. I got the fuel pump fuse removed. Let's go ahead and throw on our ground. Batteries from 8 of 18, but not. Oh. It's all sort of ticked off. Shush. Okay. Let me turn over the engine here. Let's shush. Here goes nothing. Well, that's promising. That's annoying. Okay. I don't know. Let me shut that up. All right, it's quiet for now. Let's put that fuse back in and see what happens. Again, we're working with 1.5 year old fuel, so who knows? I hear a fuel pump. Cycle it a few times. One more. Survey says. Ooh, that sounds promising. Once more. Holy crap, it runs! Yeah! That makes me freaking happy. Can you tell? Holy cow. Okay. Hold on. Okay, if you can't tell, I'm kind of happy about this right now. I honestly was pretty skeptical if I could do it. I mean, I'm 50-50. I'm not incompetent, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing, especially with a turbocharged German automobile engine. I should have started something like a small block Chevy, an old Ford engine, something in a V without all this other crap to deal with. But if you're gonna dive in, why not just dive in head first and see what happens? I'm very happy with that. Now, all that being said, I do have a bunch of work to do to put the rest of the front end back on. There are numerous electrical gremlins in here. Windows don't work, top doesn't go up and down. That list goes on and on. But the main focus for this was, could an idiot who has no idea what he's doing look up stuff on YouTube and fix an engine with an unknown head problem? The answer in this case is yes. So I'm gonna wrap this up. We're gonna have more content on this, but I've gotta get back to other projects. This has been sitting here for a month. I got more stuff to do. So hope you have liked this, please. This wasn't cheap. I mean, it wasn't expensive, but it wasn't cheap. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and we will see you real soon in the next video. Bye-bye.